Good morning and thank you for joining us on our webinar this morning. Bydd y sesiwn holiac a cwestiynau i arbenigwyr pwnc City and Guilds a IEL am gymwysterau newydd adeiladu a pheirianneg gwasanaethau adeiladu sy'n cael ei datblygu. The online Q&A session will give you the opportunity to ask questions to City and Guilds and IEL subject experts about the new construction and building services engineering qualifications which are being developed. Mae City and Guilds ac IEL yn gweithio ar y cyd i ddatblygu cyfres newydd o gymwysterau peirianneg, gwasanaethau adeiladu ac adeiladu, y gellir ei heriannu yng Nghymru, a fydd ar gael i'w haddysgu gyntaf o fis Medi 2021. City and Guilds and IEL are working in collaboration to develop a new suite of fundable construction and building services engineering qualifications in Wales, which will be available for first teaching from September 2021. Please defnyddiwch y chat function ar y dde I ofyn unrhyw cwestiynau sydd gennych. Please feel free to use the chat function on the right to ask any questions. Gadewch fi gyflwyno pawb sydd gyda ni ar y webinar bore yma. Let me introduce everybody that we've got on our webinar this morning. We've got Ian Roberts, who's our technical advisor at City and Guilds. Brett Keegan is our lead development manager at City and Guilds. Paul Rice is our program development manager at IEL. And Jason Marsland, who's a product specialist at IEL. And you've got myself, Angharad Lloyd-Beynon, who's the Business Development Manager at City and Guilds. Now, if I can ask Brett, he's just going to talk us through a bit of the timeline about the new qualifications.
Hello, everyone. As Angharad's just pointed out, I'm Brett Keegan. I'm the Lead Development Manager at City and Guilds. So I'll just talk you through the timeline of the development, kind of the journey we've been on so far, where we are at the moment, and what the kind of future holds in terms of the development process. So the qualification development process kicked off in the latter part of 2019 with the initial engagement and research taking place to support the scoping of content and assessments. As we progressed through late 2019 and into early 2020, we focused our activity on the development of the foundation qualification, predominantly in the run-up to our first submission of our draft content and sample assessments to Qualifications Wales, which just happened at the start of May. Alongside this development of the foundation qualification sample assessments, we've also been developing content for the new Level 2 progression qualification and the Level 3 qualifications. The first submission of draft content and sample assessments for these are due to be submitted to Qualifications Wales in early June. So that's just to give you a view of kind of where we started and where we are now. In support of these first submissions to Qualifications Wales, we are looking to carry out consultation activity on the content for the progression and the Level 3 qualifications I've just mentioned over the next several weeks. This will include remotely providing feedback via email or attending remote consultation meetings to discuss specific trade areas. If you'd like to be involved in this process, please contact us using the skillsforwales.customer@cityandguilds.com email address. This email address will come up later on in the presentation, so don't worry about kind of trying to write that down now. We will share that afterwards as well. But you can register interest using that email address, or similarly the subscribe page on the skillsforwales.wales website. There you can signal your interest in being involved in this process and also sign up for updates so that we can keep you informed of upcoming events such as this question and answer session. The process of qualification development that we're going through with Qualifications Wales includes 3 submission windows for each of the 3 qualifications. So those 3 qualifications being the foundation qualification, the progression qualification, and the Level 3. So as mentioned previously, we're currently in the middle of the first batch of submissions for these qualifications, so we're still quite early on in the process. And as a result, there will be a range of ongoing consultation activity as we go through this process related to these qualifications to ensure that we're developing qualifications that are fit for purpose and manageable for those delivering and assessing them. So again, to be kept up to date with this ongoing schedule of events and to register your interest in being involved in this process, please go to the skillsforwales.wales website, where you can, as I said, sign up and subscribe to register your interest and gain updates on when we are carrying out these activities. As the qualification development and submission process progresses, we will continue to schedule and run update events and communications to keep going, communications to keep all stakeholders involved in how the process is going. So again, that's just the type of information you'll get once you sign up and subscribe to that element. We will be issuing ongoing communications and setting up continually setting up events to support the development process. Again, that will also provide us with a platform to share draft content when we can as well, in that we will use those people who have signalled their interest via that sign up page. This process of qualification development and submissions will ultimately lead to the approval of the qualifications, which is scheduled to take place at the end of 2020. From this point onwards, as you can see from the slide on screen, there will be a range of support resources and events taking place. So from this point onwards, there will be a range of support events for both employers and tutors, and similarly there will also be the release of both employer and tutor based resources. These will be released to support both providers and employers in preparing to deliver this new suite of qualifications. So that's just kind of to give you an overview of where we've been on this journey and where we're kind of going. I'll say at the moment we are kind of in the middle of that first submission window, and what we're doing is looking to carry out additional consultation activity, and then after we've received the feedback from Qualifications Wales on our first submission, we'll move towards further evolving everything we have developed. So again, there'll be another series of consultation events and opportunities where we share content for providers and employers to feed back to us. So that's why it's crucial for you to kind of signal your interest in taking part in that process using the email address and the subscribe option I've just highlighted. So that's it in terms of the qualification update. And Harald, I don't know if you want to move on to the next element now.
Right, yn y sesiwn yma, byddwn ni'n edrych ar y cwestiynau sy'n ni wedi cael mewn yn barod. So this section we'll have a look at the questions we've already received. But as I said earlier, please feel free to ask any questions in the questions box on the right-hand side. So Jason, the first question is for you. Will the apprenticeship route give the successful candidate the water regulations and Part G hot water safety for the CPSs?
Hello. The overall apprenticeship route will be the vehicle to get competent person scheme approval. We're developing the qualification that will form part of the apprenticeship framework, and assisting gaining wider CPS approval. The qualification has been based on the latest regulations and requirements. The frameworks are part of this project, and Qualification Wales will be the authority in making decisions on these.
Diolch, Jason. And the next question is for you as well. So what provision is there for gas, oil and the renewables qualifications?
Well, for this question, it has two answers. For the first one, if we're talking about inclusion in the framework as a pathway option, that will be QW that we're making the decision on this. For inclusion as a standalone qualification, this would be a request for a new low uptake qualification, and that process is still being confirmed. Thank you.
Okay, diolch, Jason. Brett, can I ask you to answer the next question, please? Will there be an end centre-based project?
So these qualifications will contain assessment projects. However, these are not necessarily endpoint assessment projects. However, it is expected, or it's likely, that they will be undertaken towards the end of the qualification. So when the learner is then best equipped to demonstrate the full range of knowledge and skills required. The project assessments include a plan, do and review components, with the do element being the largest of those components. Within the foundation qualification, learners will undertake centre-based projects in 2 trade areas, with the do element of these projects of the assessment comprising of 20 hours per trade. Within the progression qualification, learners will focus on 1 trade area, undertaking a centre-based project, which is 60 hours long. Within the level 3 qualification, learners will undertake a work-based project focused on 1 trade area, which will be a 60-hour project.
Diolch, Brett. The next question, I'm going to ask Ian to answer this one. In relationship to the apprenticeship learner pathways, what will the off-site training programme look like in terms of delivery model?
Whichever pathway or occupation a learner is working towards, the delivery model will be similar to the existing model that's currently been adopted. They will receive the relevant training and gather their knowledge, elements and practical skills outlined within the National Occupational Standards and introductory trade skills. So it is very similar to what they're used to at this moment in time. Thank you.
Great, diolch Ian. The next question goes to you as well. So how will the learner portfolio work? So is it basically the old NVQ portfolio, and how is this quality assured?
Right, a showcase of evidence that will demonstrate coverage of all the National Occupational Standards as outlined in the apprenticeship framework. This portfolio is compiled by the employer and the employee and presented to the provider centre. And as we've previously known and what's previously experienced provides us is that this confirms that the training provider and tutors will have to support the employer learner gathering this type of evidence, as we've had to do in the past. The employer is aware of this and they will support accordingly to the best that they can. Regarding the quality assurance of the portfolio, this is carried out again by the provider or the centre, and this will be following guidance that will be provided by the consortium, which is the CELS, City and Guilds and EAL. I would like to reinforce though, the consortium will not be quality assuring the portfolio of evidence. This will be down to the centre or the training provider to carry this activity out. Thank you.
Diolch Ian. And Brett, this next question is for you. So will endpoint assessments be part of the changes for the new qualifications?
So in short, no. These qualifications have 3 separate assessment components within them, which are carried out at different points throughout the learner's journey. Within these 3 qualifications, so the foundation, the progression and the level 3, there are MCQ assessments, practical project assessments and guided or professional discussions depending on the qualification. Multiple choice question assessments can be undertaken at any point provided the learner is ready. Similarly, project assessments can be undertaken when the learner is ready. Again, it is likely that this will be towards the end of the qualification to enable the learner to develop all of the relevant knowledge and skills required and kind of give the best account of themselves when they do carry out that assessment. The guided and professional discussions will be the final assessment component completed within these qualifications, as these contain elements of review of the learner's activity during the project. So these professional and guided discussions must take place after the project has been completed. So in essence, no, those assessments can take place across the length of the qualification. We do anticipate that they may be loaded towards the end of that, but they're not strictly an endpoint assessment as we see in other qualifications.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brad. Next question to Ian. Please, can you provide information on what is the role of our current NVQ assessors and how the employer sign-off is going to work?
Thank you. Before we start, I'd like to reinforce we can fully understand that this is raising a number of concerns. But what we can reinforce is, unfortunately at this moment in time, is that the roles and responsibilities are still to be clarified, as the role and title may change as there is no requirement to complete an MVQ. Although there isn't an MVQ, on-site assessments will still take place. And this will be to observe the learner working towards their Level 3 project, which has got to be carried out within the work environment that the employee will be working within. With regards to the employer sign-off, once again, is still to be clarified, and we should have an answer in the coming months. We are, as always, engaging with a number of employers to have their agreement to see how this process will work. Thank you.
Diolch, Ian. The next question is for you, Jason. How many times will an apprentice need to repeat the performance assessments in the workplace, and how many will need to be directly observed by an assessor?
For this section, learners will complete a maximum of 4 tasks that will be completed on site as part of the Level 3 qualification. These are set up based on guidance provided by the consortium, and they'll be covering the underlying performance criteria in the occupational standards. Our current proposal is for the direct observations is for 2 to be carried out, but we welcome any feedback on how manageable providers feel this would be. Thank you.
Diolch, Jason. The next question is for Paul. How will mature learners without an apprenticeship be able to gain a qualification in plumbing? As the title suggests, only apprentices can achieve this.
These qualifications will be open to everybody, but the funding will only be for apprentices. That said, you may have funding available for other learners, but that will be, you need to find that out on when you register the learners to see if there is adult funding available. The apprenticeship title was an early working title that indicated the qualification was part of an apprenticeship, but not completely tied to it. This has now been renamed. So there are 2 elements. So one is the construction Level 3 and the other is a building services Level 3. So that apprenticeship title has been dropped. If you want to see the full titles, have a click on the Skills for Wales website. And you've got all of the qualifications with their full titles from foundation, progression and the Level 3. Thank you.
Diolch, Paul. The next question is for you, Brett. Will there be any teaching resources to support delivery, and when will these be available, or when will samples be available?
Thank you. Yes, we will be providing sample assessment materials for these qualifications. These will be available from January 2021. We will also be producing tutor and employer resources for all foundation qualification units, which will be all available from February 2021. We will also be providing delivery guidance materials for the main trades within the progression and Level 3 qualifications, and these will be available from September 2021.
Great. Diolch, Brett. Next question is for you again, Ian. Will there be a Level 1 qualification for learners who aren't able to go straight onto a foundation qualification?
As we are all aware, the new FAB 2 will focus on the breadth of learning rather than on a single trade, and from September 21, Qualifications Wales would expect the majority of learners wishing to enter the construction and built environment sector to begin their programme of learning from the age of 16 with the foundation qualifications. However, Qualifications Wales are aware that Level 1 qualifications are also used by centres to support more than just learner progression into an area of employment, and that there is a need for some Level 1 qualifications to remain available in a construction and building services context to provide meaningful assessments for these learners. While Qualifications Wales will not be developing any new Level 1 qualifications, they are considering whether those that remain are likely to complement the introduction of the foundation qualifications. Qualifications Wales are only likely, therefore, to designate broad Level 1 qualifications as eligible for funding rather than the trade-specific Level 1 qualifications. And that's the area that they're looking at. And we should have more information over the next coming months to be able to provide. One just thing I'd like to add, if I may, from the previous question that was mentioned, to support the learning resources, we're already starting to plan and schedule events in, and hopefully they'll be face-to-face, depending on the current epidemic that's happening at the moment. If not, there'll be webinars similar to this one or other various meetings to hold various events to be able to provide training and support to tutors and people delivering these qualifications, and to go through the relevant resources that will be available. These events will be held by the Joint Consortium and also through the technical advisors such as myself and Jason, who was on the webinar today. And they will be continuing, and all being well, they will start in December 2020 and continuing through, right through till June 2021, and then probably beyond once we get the initial events launched. Thank you.
Diolch, Ian. The last question that we've had that's been pre-submitted is for you, Brett. So when will a level 3 learner be able to start their project?
Okay, so it is expected that a level 3 learner will begin their project work within the last 6 months of their programme, as this is when they'll have developed their skills, knowledge and behaviours and be in a position to best demonstrate their own skills and those knowledge, skills and behaviours that they've acquired over that period of study. Guidance will be provided on the criteria which must be met within this project at the start of the programme. This will then allow employers, providers and learners to plan their work and assessment activities to enable relevant evidence to be gathered when learners are best placed to demonstrate them to their fullest. So whilst it is expected that that evidence will be kind of gathered in the last 6 months, it is understood that some work activities might not all fall within that last 6-month window. So then it might be the case that some of that activity comes a little bit earlier on. But the provision of that guidance around which criteria must be met is there to support, as I've said, the employers and the providers in aligning that work as much as possible in that assessment activity to kind of give the learners the chance to carry out and produce that evidence towards the end when they're best placed to gather that evidence. Thank you.
Okay, great. Diolch, Brett. I can see we've had quite a few questions coming through from the question function. First one I can see is, are there any provisions for training in installing, servicing heat pumps? Question for you, Paul or Jason?
Hello, I'll take this one. Hello, yeah, I'll take this one because it is more on the plumbing side. What it will be, again, as I say with the first answer I gave, this will be part of the framework if they do a renewables option, if there's one there, or it could be a standalone qualification. And if it's a standalone qualification, that will go through the process of trying to get a new qualification recognised, and that process is still under development. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm struggling a little bit to see some of the questions. What provision will be available to the school links? So GCSE type qual with little practical is not fit for purpose to so many pupils. Brett, is that a question for you?
So that would be a precursor to this. So with the qualifications we're developing, they are aimed at learners age 16 plus. So there will, I think there's an additional project which I think Qualification Wales are probably best placed to offer an update on around the GCSE element, because the work we're undertaking, as I say, kind of starts from that 16+ element within colleges and work-based learning. Yeah, I think probably we can ask that question externally to potentially Qualifications Wales, but it's not necessarily something that we can provide an update on at this point, because it sits kind of outside of the scope of the suite of qualifications we're developing at the moment.
Brett, was the next question for you as well. How do we accommodate part-time evening learners?
So depending on the qualification undertaken, it would be a case of looking at the delivery model, and it would be for the providers to look at their delivery model and how they would resource that and provide the adequate kind of delivery time to those learners across the delivery of that qualification. Within what we provide, there'll be guidance for, as I said before, providers and employers, and obviously then there's also the associated guided learning hours, things like that. So it's then the kind of area of the delivery organisers, the training providers and the centres to look at how they're going to then deliver that content and that kind of guided learning hours with the resources we provide within the kind of time restraints that might be present for that particular type of learner. Thank you.
Great. Diolch, Brad. Next one I can see from Hugh. Gobeithio bod ti'n cadw dda, Hugh. Considering the unprecedented set of circumstances we're facing due to the COVID-19, you're obviously still looking at the start to the new qualifications at 2021. Do you envisage a delay? Brett, another one for you.
I'll pick that one up, yeah. At the moment, no, we don't envisage a delay. We have adjusted the way we are working through the development process. We're hosting sessions such as this remotely. We're carrying out remote consultation. So we still are maintaining our kind of development timescales, and ultimately that leads on to us maintaining that first delivery from September 2021. So at the moment we still envisage that to be the date that we're working towards. So we don't see that there'll be any delays at the moment. If there are, again, with the continuing communication that we issue around these qualifications and the continuing consultation we'll do, if there is any point where anything changes and that there is the potential for a delay, we will communicate that out to all stakeholders. But at the moment, we don't envisage that to be a delay.
May I say something, Anna?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Please. Just to reinforce what Brett's already said is, we are working closely as well with employers and stakeholders across, so they are aware that we're trying to engage with them remotely as well because of the current epidemic that we're going through.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Ian. Another one, will there be a written form of these questions? All these questions will be uploaded onto the Skills for Wales website, and there will be a recording of this webinar as well. I'm struggling to see the rest of the questions. I'm not sure if anybody else can, Brett, if you can pick them up.
Yep, we've had another question to say, I think that engagement with employers throughout this process is vital. To what extent has the ongoing pandemic impacted your ability to engage with employers, and how do you intend to adapt the way you engage with them to ensure employers' needs are met? So this is something we considered early on in the phase of the pandemic, and as that became apparent that was going to become an ongoing and escalating situation. So we've worked very closely then from early this year with CITB, the National Federation of Builders and the Federation of Master Builders, as well as other trade associations and other direct employer links we had. We've worked closely with them from the start of this year to keep the kind of message going and to start to create links to enable us to carry out remote consultation sessions. So similar to this Q&A session, we have held and are running remote sessions whereby we're able to share content ahead of time, facilitate discussions with employers around content and assessment methodology we're using, and seek feedback on that front. We've done that, we have done that and are doing that at a trade level, so specifically focusing on each individual trade. And we have done that to large groups, and again, we've also done it with focused smaller groups to have a kind of bit more of an in-depth consultation feedback on specific areas. So that is an ongoing process. Again, for any employers present in this session. Please, if you go to the skillsforwales.wales website, you can register your interest in and be involved in the ongoing consultation and the ongoing process. But we will, as I say, is an ongoing process, specifically as well for the progression in apprenticeship, or the level 3 qualification, sorry. Those are an ongoing process, and it will continue over the next several months as well, as we continue through that development process I outlined earlier.
The next question is for you, Brett, and possibly Ian as well. So with regard to the promotion of sustainable building methods and materials, what efforts have been included to promote these elements?
It's Ian, sorry. We've been engaging with certain federations to ensure that we get the new technologies, the new various environmental changes built into these qualifications to ensure we get the right people to consult with, to ensure we do incorporate them within the core content of the qualifications moving forward.
Great, diolch Ian. The next question can go to you as well, Ian. What is going to happen with all the experienced workers requiring an NVQ to gain the CSCS card?
I think this difficult question, to be fair, because the CITB, the Federation will, sorry, the Construction Industry Training Board will are adamant, and it's rightly so, that NVQs will continue for certain areas for experienced workers. So experienced workers will still be able to gather the CSCS card to gain access on site. Likewise, will the new structure, the new qualifications with the level 3 qualifications, they'll be able to gain the CSCS card as well to gain on site. So moving forward, at this moment in time, there will still be opportunity for experienced workers to gather that relevant qualification so they can gain the CSCS card to maintain the work that industry will still require moving forward.
Okay, diolch Ian. The next question to either Paul or Jason. So the level 3 NOS standards states that the level 3 aspects are electrical trade specific area. Does this mean that the full-time or evening students that are not apprentices cannot do this knowledge elements of this level 3 qualification?
I'll take that one. So the level 3 qualification is a standard qualification for everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're an adult learner, an apprentice, or part-time, full-time. You will do all of the qualification, you will learn all of the knowledge elements and all of the skills elements, and undertake all of the assessment methods, which are the professional discussion, multiple choice question online test, and the practical project. So there's no distinction at all between different types of learners. You all do the same thing and come out with the same qualification. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. This next question goes to Brett. Will delivery of level 3 Pearson construction and built environment and civil engineering still be available, or will there be a route for this in the new level 3 qual? This is a pathway to HE.
So I can't speak specifically to the Pearson qualification, but there is within the level 3 qualification that we're building on the construction side, there is a civil engineering route within that. So within the construction level 3 qualification, I think at the moment there are 10 or 11 different trade routes, one of which is a civil engineering route. So there will be content and a specific pathway for civil engineering within the level 3 qualification within the suite of qualifications.
Okay, diolch Brett. The next question goes to you, Ian. We keep on using the term employers. Who are they? So what employers are we working with, Ian? Please.
The employers we're working with and engaging with currently are the large contractors, which is, I don't like to name them, but we will do, which is Kias, Langer Rock, Persimmon Homes, Lovells, and also then the medium-sized companies and also the micro businesses, down to people who just sole traders, subcontractors. So we're engaging with a cross section, and we're doing this through contacts through CITB, which is Brett's already mentioned, the Federation of Master Builders, and also the National Federation of Builders and the Federation of Small Builders, and various working groups as well, which is Apprentice, and also through Kuffler, if I pronounce that correctly. So we are working and engaging more so with micro businesses, because as we all know, in Wales, it's 96% of the businesses in Wales are micro businesses. So we want to ensure everyone has an opportunity to provide a voice. Over the last couple of months, since the epidemic has really commenced, unfortunately, and people have been furloughed and people are working from home, it has caused a few problems, but we have tried to continue, Han Harrod and myself and the rest of the consortium, to keep engaging with these micro businesses and, well, across the sector, to be fair, and we've been successful at this moment in time. But it's like anything else, we do experience great difficulties with people being furloughed, but also difficulties when they are micro businesses is to, not everybody can afford the time to be able to spend on this. So we are working closely, and although they may not be able to join consultation meetings, at least they can still have an opportunity to feed back on the relevant documentations that we are sending them. So rest assured, we are ensuring that no matter what size a business is, we want to engage with them accordingly. And over the last couple of months, we've contacted over 160 employers, plus emails that's been sent out from, like I said, from the Federation of Master Builders, the National Federation of Builders, and CITB themselves. So we are closely working with as many as we possibly can. Thank you.
Ian, can I add something as well from the building services side? Ian's just listed how the construction side is engaging with employers, and we're doing something similar with building services, so electrical and plumbing. We are finding it difficult to get through to people, we think largely due to the pandemic. So if you do have any contact, please let us know. For employers, we're actively trying to engage more with the BSE employers. I think the challenge we have is they tend to be quite small businesses who are probably focusing this moment on keeping their businesses alive. But we do have plans and strategies to engage with those people. Thank you.
Diolch. Next question. The current City and Guilds Level 1, the 7202-01, covers both electrical and plumbing units. Could this not be extending for funding as it covers 2 BSE areas at Level 1? Maybe a question for Brett or Ian.
I think, like we mentioned earlier, Qualifications Wales are looking closely at what's currently out there at the moment. They have no intentions of looking to developing anything new, but they are looking at what current qualifications are out there to use as a Level 1. But they're hoping that majority of the learners will go directly onto the foundation. So to answer your question, yes, there's opportunities for any Level 1 qualification at this moment in time, provided it covers a broad overview of the construction and are not trade-specific pathways. So yes, they are looking at various qualifications at Level 1 at this moment in time. Thank you.
Diolch, Ian. The next question can be for you as well. So will the employer need to have the trade qual they're signing off?
Regarding the employer sign-off, this is something that we've already mentioned. We are working closely with the various federations, CITB, and employers directly to get their views and honest opinions. Because you can talk to some employers, and some employers may be a trade-specific area, but they've been in business for a considerable number of years, and it's the reputation that's moving forward with the sign-off to support that particular learner. So they may not be trade-specific, they may have some way to put forward that they have the right to be able to sign the employer sign-off to support that learner. And as I said earlier, this is something that we are still working on at this moment in time. We've had things in draft previously. We've forwarded that out to the various stakeholders. We've had their feedback along with the federation, and we're moving to the next stage. And then, as I say, as soon as we have any confirmation of this, we'll let everybody know. But we are working closely on this at this moment in time, when a decision will be made to ensure that the learner is supported accordingly to moving forward. Thank you.
Great. Diolch, Ian. You touched on this earlier, but will the qualification be linked to the CSCS card?
Yes, they will. The qualifications are definitely linked, because when you look at the new criteria, the curriculum that's coming out, it's got to be in line, especially the progression, and the level 3 qualification is in line with the national occupational standards. Although it's not directly assessments carried out on site, they've still got to build a portfolio of evidence that will be relevant to provide sufficient evidence of the national occupational standards being met. And this is where it will help support the learner then gain the CSCS card accordingly. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Ian. I'll ask you this next question as well, Ian. Will assessors be providing on-site support as opposed to assessing the learner on-site?
Like I mentioned earlier, the roles and responsibilities of current assessors, internal quality assurers, people like that, are still got to be decided what their exact roles and responsibilities will be. As soon as we're aware of that and we can bring that to the forefront, for an example is, like I've mentioned again earlier, is there won't be any NVQs attached to the new qualifications moving forward, but there still is the national occupational standards, and decisions have got to be made. But also the project at level 3 has got to be carried out in the working environment, realistic working environment, which has got to be within industry. So the roles, the titles may change, but the roles could remain the same. We've still got to iron these out, and as soon as we are aware and we can get these confirmed, we'll let people know. Thank you.
Okay, diolch, Ian. And how will the portfolio be expected to be presented to the centre, taking into account the electronic portfolios being used at the moment? Question for you, Brett.
Yes, so the format will be expected to be the same. So we would expect that it is, again, similarly an electronic portfolio that's presented to the centre as part of that. So the portfolio at level 3, it's outside of the qualification, but the employer sign-off that comes from that portfolio acts as a signal within the qualification that learner can progress on to the professional discussion. So that portfolio is generated by the employer and the apprentice and delivered to the centre or the training provider as an e-portfolio.
Great, thank you, Brett. Will there be a role for assessors at level 2? Ian or Brett?
Like we mentioned earlier, that I know I keep saying, and I do apologise, but the thing is, we're still ironing out what the roles and responsibilities are going to be. The project for the level 3 qualification will be in the final year of their qualification, whereas on the progression, the project will be internally carried out, because there's no employer involvement as such with that progression qualification. So the roles, like we said earlier, are still to be ironed out, but we still foresee roles and responsibilities for assessors and internal quality assurers some form within the structure of the qualifications we are building.
And yes, just to carry on that, at level 2 in the foundation and progression qualifications, the assessment is all centre-based, with the exception of the multiple choice test, which is externally assessed by ourselves, City and Guilds or EAL, but both the project and the guided discussion are assessed within the centre. So from that point of view, the assessors within the level 2 qualifications will have the role of carrying out those assessments at the project and the guided discussion level.
Great, thanks, Brett and Ian. Next question could go to Paul. Will funding for the current draft of electrical qualifications be available beyond September 2021 to allow candidates currently qualifying at full-time level 1 to continue through to level 3?
So the funding is set by Qualifications Wales. We don't have any impact on that. But what we believe to be the case at the moment is that the funding for everything will stop apart from these qualifications. So the only funding available will be for the qualifications that we are developing, However, if learners are already on a qualification, they should be able to continue funded. There may also be some provision outside on those limited level ones that are not trade specific, and other items that appear in the apprenticeship, but it should be only these quals at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, diolch. I think this question has already been answered. Are we confident that the resources will be in place for the start date because of the pandemic? And the answer to that is yes. What will the final qualification be known as? For example, a diploma, an NVQ, a basic or advanced, etc. Question for you, Brett.
Yes. So as we've touched on, as we've been calling them, we have the foundation in construction and built environment will be the qualification title for the foundation. Again, we've got progression in construction or progression in building services engineering. And then we'll have at the end of those as well will be the specific trades or trade that the learner has undertaken as part of that study. And then at level 3, we will have level 3 in construction or level 3 in building service engineering. Again, then with the trade title added on the end. As Paul alluded to earlier, there is a full list of the qualification titles on the skillsforwales.wales website that we've got for this suite of qualifications, so you can refer to that to see the list of trades that we're working on and also the qualification titles and some qualification descriptors there as well to give you a bit more context around the qualifications that we're working on.
Okay. Great, thanks, Brett. Next question. Whilst I appreciate everyone can do the level 3 units and not just the apprentices, however, will there be funding available for the non-apprentices to do these level 3 units?
I can take that question. So the general funding, we don't believe there will be, but there may be individual pots set up for adult learners or special categories, but generally we don't think so. But again, this is down to QW and the Welsh Government to decide.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Paul. As you're there, and the next question goes to you. And you've touched on this already. Why are we not talking to plumbing and electrical SMEs within Wales? None of the employees I've spoken to have heard from you.
Yeah, so we have been trying to get through to employers in Wales. If you do know of any, if anybody knows of any, please get in touch with us. Let us have some contact details. The more people we can speak to, the better. We have been trying, but it has been very difficult. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Next question for Ian. I work in a satellite centre that only offer 2 construction quals, the brick and carpentry level 1 and 2, also work-based learning, and a plumbing level 1 and 2. Currently, there are no plans to expand the delivery at this satellite. What would this create barriers for the learner to progress in the qualification or the industry?
Once it's confirmed, the roles, responsibilities, the progression of the level 1 foundation, then we'll be able to provide more clarity on that to see how that app can help and work forward. And then it's depending on the centre themselves on how they want to progress and how they see the new structure being built in to what they've currently got. So as I say, we've got to just wait until we see the clarity on the roles and responsibilities, but not only that, to help support the progression then, once we identify and can confirm which qualifications we're going to be looking at level 1, and then we can see how that will be built in to support the learner moving on to the foundation and then on to the progression. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And the next question, Ian, I think we can both answer this one. Have you tried contacting centre-based, work-based learning departments for employer details? I can answer this one. I have been working closely with most of the colleges in Wales, trying to get into the employer engagement groups. So I have presented into a few of them. Myself and Ian are more than happy, and the qualification development team are happy to engage with more centres and colleges and employees. we'll give you our some of you got our contact details, and I will be giving you an email address at the end. I can see from the questions that there's some questions that have been submitted previously. So if we haven't answered any questions, then they will be on our website. This one, will City and Guilds and EAL be fighting for employer sign-offs to be trade qualified to ensure quality?
Yes, is the answer to that one. Yes.
Yeah,
as part of the employer sign-off process, we will be setting criteria for who can carry out that employer sign-off and the kind of level of qualification and competence, etc., that we would expect that person or that person to hold.
Great. And how will these qualifications be external quality assured?
So the current external quality assurance model proposed for these qualifications is that they will be externally verified by the awarding organisations.
Right, thanks. And Brad, could learners complete the level 3 qualification as full-time learners with a work placement rather than apprenticeship?
So I think, as Paul's alluded to previously, the key kind of purpose of these qualifications is to sit within the apprenticeship framework. However, they can be taken as a standalone qualification. So if they aren't being taken by an apprentice as part of an apprenticeship framework, there will be potential for it to be picked up in a work placement manner. It would just be about then ensuring that that work placement offers the range and the scope of activities to allow that learner to achieve that qualification. And in completing that qualification, they would be achieving the qualification and not an apprenticeship, because they wouldn't be an apprentice. But if it was picked up as down that route, it would be, as I said, it would be about making sure that the range and scope of activities are available to allow that learner to fully develop that set of skills.
Great. Thanks, Brad. And then just you can ask the next question for us as well. How do candidates attain an NVQ if it is not part of these qualifications?
So these qualifications will effectively replace the current NVQs in that sense. So these qualifications will be the new mandated qualifications within the apprenticeship framework going forward. So yeah, I think that's as full an answer to that one.
Okay, thanks. Talking specifically about full-time learners, is the Welsh Government going to fund a foundation level 2 over a 1-year period and then another level 2 progression course over another year for our full-time learners? For Brett?
So yes, as part of this whole suite of qualification, one of the intended routes is that a learner would start on the foundation qualification, and then if they can't secure an apprenticeship straight from that, they would move on to that progression qualification, which does then focus down into one trade area. So the intention is that that is a specific route that can be taken through this new suite of qualifications, and to support that progression route, funding for that learner would be made available. So yes, they could move on from the level 2 foundation onto the progression level 2 and be funded in both of those.
Great, thank you. The next question, I can take this. A large number of current qualifications are expiring this year. Why don't they all automatically continue until 2021, as we now have to submit requests to extend the ones we plan to deliver for September 2020? I'm working closely with QIW at the moment to make sure that all the qualifications within the construction portfolio will be extended to August 2021. If you have got any specific issues or queries around that, then please, you can contact myself. I'm really sorry if we've not got to your questions, but we're running out of time. Thank you. So diolch yn fawr iawn I chi am wrando ac am eich cwestiynau. Thank you to Ian, Brett, Paul and Jason as well for your contributions today. Byddwn ni yn rhoi y cwestiynau ar yn gwefan ni, ac bydd y webinar yn cael ei recordio fel fi wedi sôn eisoes. Os oes gennych ddiddordeb cefnogi cymwysterau newydd, neu os oes gennych unrhyw gwestiwn neu sylwad pellach, yna cysylltwch â skillsforwales.customer@cityandguilds.com. So thank you very much for listening and for your questions. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be putting all the questions on the website, on the Skills for Wales website. And I do apologise we haven't got round to them all. Can't believe how many questions we've had. So hopefully we've covered a lot of them. But as I said, any ones we haven't covered will be on our website. So if you are interested in supporting with the development of these qualifications, or if you have any further questions, then please contact skillsforwales.customer@cityandguilds.com. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi. Keep safe everybody. Diolch.